Hi, hello, welcome. Here are my thoughts on Starfield after 1 day, 13-ish hours with the game. Starfield, I make that face because Starfield is a Bethesda RPG. What does that mean? Well, you're going to get a lot of dialogue of people looking at you like I'm looking at this camera, then never turning away, even if it's a three-person conversation. You're going to miss the dialogue history like I do if you played Baldur's Gate 3. Combat, I would say, is the best combat that I have played in a Bethesda RPG. I'm enjoying that. I am playing on the hardest difficulty. It's a little spongy. Some of the harder bosses, I'm kind of running out. Well, shouldn't say bosses. Some of the the last mobs in a camp, the captains or whatever, I'm running out of ammo on, and so that's kind of annoying. Having to rely on grenades, and I'm also running out of health packs. Probably should just buy that stuff. But yeah, the writing is fine. It's a Bethesda RPG. It's not, for me, it's not exceptional or anything. I do think in a lot of ways, if I'm 100% honest, Baldur's Gate 3 spoiled what I would expect for writing in this. And I know that's a little bit unfair, but it's how I feel. I'm constantly thinking about it as I'm playing it. So that's how I'm feeling about it. The space stuff, in terms of building the ship, is probably my favorite part of the game. So far, I've built a ship. It's a piece of shit, but it's my ship and I built it. And I need to build a better one. And so I need more money. And so that's probably going to be the goal for today, is to get as much money as possible. The main story is kind of fine. I'm not super pulled towards it. But I have read a couple places from people that have reviewed the game that one of the best ways to play Starfield is to actually just mainline the story, finish the game, and then do all of the side/exploration stuff after you finish. And they can't say why because of embargo purposes. They're explicitly not allowed to state why that is the case. I guess something with New Game Plus. But I'm the type of person where once I finish a game, I'm done with it, right? Like, I don't know if I'd be the type of person to jump back in, but I don't really know what happens in New Game Plus. So those are kind of my general thoughts on everything. I have run into a handful of bugs. They do exist. That being said, they're not super plentiful. I haven't had any game-breaking bugs where I couldn't just reload and fix them. I had an NPC that was up in the sky to alter the ship, and I just kind of reloaded the area, not the save, but I had to fly out and fly back in. Speaking of that, there's a lot of loading in the game, and if you have a slow SSD, you're going to be staring at a load screen for a while. I have an NVMe drive, so mine's a little bit higher end than, I guess, streamer, top of the line system, blah, blah, blah. And so the game loads generally pretty fast, but without that, you load into a planet, you're there for maybe 5 minutes if you're just doing the quest and getting out. There's a lot of other things to see on planets. Oftentimes, though, it's a Bethesda RPG, so unless you have master lockpicking, the most interesting loot in a room can't really be obtained. So the exploration right now is not existent for me, because it just means that I'm going to be fighting really hard enemies on the hardest difficulty and then unable to loot the chest because I don't have master lockpicking yet. I'm only level 7, so I haven't really gotten up to the proper level to be able to do that. And that's a little frustrating, especially, once again, Baldur's Gate 3, top of mind. If you get a chest in Baldur's Gate 3 or something that you can't open, there's usually other ways to open that. And I would say it's also easier. Like the way that the unlock and the skill system, while I haven't dove fully into it yet, the way that it works is you unlock kind of the first tier, and then to unlock the second tier, lockpicking, for example, you have to go and lockpick 4 or 5. I think it's 5 for the first one, and then maybe 10 or 20 for the next tier. And you just have to find those things to unlock. There's no way to practice that. that I found. So ultimately, it's Bethesda RPG. And what does that mean, I guess, at the end of the day? Man, that UI is bad. The inventory management in this game is probably the biggest issue I have with it. It's really bad. I'm finding myself constantly encumbered, even with taking the weight training or the power lifting or whatever the perk is. And with getting a ship that has 1,300 cargo, it's non-stop item management. And if you're a hoarder like I am, picking up forks and plastic things and graduated cylinders, you fill your inventory up really fast, and it's really annoying to deal with. That's if I were to mod the game, or if I could make a mod appear out of thin air, it would be an inventory mod, like right out of the gate. Be able to see everything that the item has in terms of value, weight, type, all that kind of crap. Also the ability to like lock an item. So if I'm just spamming items to throw into storage, it doesn't like throw the items that I have equipped. Yes, I know it says that there's like equipped or whatever, and the item is highlighted. But if you're just spamming and you want to just get through it as fast as possible, you can throw sometimes your, laser cutter for mining into that. And so with that in mind, I built a cargo ship essentially that has like 1,300 cargo space, which is great, except because I'm so early on in the game, if I get into a fight, I get absolutely trounced. In a lot of ways, the game, one particular area, narratively, you get kind of forced into a fight. And there's no way to like run away from the fight, which is kind of what my ship is meant to do. It's very fast and it holds a lot of cargo. It does not fight. It has guns, but it does not fight well. And so I tried to just like outrun them, which I did. But if you're in combat, you can't warp drive, or you can't go to another area. You can't land on the planet these people are protecting. So you kind of have to build a ship for all around, from what I've seen. But again, I've only spent...
Lord have mercy, I'm about to sub.
Thanks, Lexi. I've only spent 1 day with it. That might change. We'll see what happens. Companions are like okay. I'm not super pulled in any one direction by anyone. They're fine. I'm not... Again, they're not Baldur's Gate 3 companions. And the dialogue is really silly. It's like bracket flirt, and the person's like, man, I should go get some spoons later today to eat my cereal. And then you can just respond, bracket flirt, why don't we go spoon later and look at the stars? And it's like, what?
Streaming live.
Why would I?
A day, 7 days a week from Los
What do you
Angeles,
mean?
California.
I don't know why everyone's talking. We barely just met. It's kind of strange. I said this on stream, and I think it's how we'll close out my my day one thoughts. The worst thing that has happened, or that Starfield has going for it, is that Baldur's Gate 3 released a month ago instead of a week after, or 2 weeks after, or whatever, because I cannot stop comparing things to it. And I feel like people that played a lot of it, well, they're not the same game at all, and they're very different games. The things that you can compare, the writing, the companions, and kind of the overall narrative, they make a pretty big comparison and kind of get in your face a lot about it. So that might change. We'll see. I'm only 13 hours in. This isn't a review. This is a day one thoughts. I'll be on stream most likely if you're watching this over on YouTube. Thank you so much, or maybe even on TikTok if this gets posted there. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you on stream. I won't do this every single day, probably every other day for Starfield, but yeah. That's it. I'm out of here. Have a good one. Bye-bye.